healthcare for illegal aliens. And some of it is completely untrue. Like they're saying, oh, look what New York State does or California. Well, like, yeah, we pay state taxes and our governments decide what we're going to do with those dollars. But they're pointing to what they say is like loopholes in what the Democrats said that they wanted to rescind from the big, beautiful bill to make sure that there are folks that are lawfully here protected, like domestic violence survivors, green card holders, et cetera, that they have access to healthcare. But then they're digging deeper into this idea of like, okay, well, who reimburses a hospital if someone who's here undocumented shows up and needs an emergency procedure? And it's leading to, I think, some really ugly back and forth where you have Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary there, in another exchange saying like, well, I'm not the one to answer whether everyone should get treatment. And it's like, excuse me, are you really going to start making the argument that if someone walks into a hospital, they shouldn't get health care? But there are millions of Americans in this country who think that or think you shouldn't be here. And if you are here, you shouldn't certainly be using our resources.
Yeah, I think the amount of resources that are being used up by people who are illegally here is insignificant compared to what Republicans are actually trying to pull away. From my understanding, their problem is that this is, like you said, this is extended to include people who are not technically illegal, but who fall under like temporary protected status or asylum seekers. So their entire argument is very hyperbolic. They say that Democrats are trying to solely provide healthcare for illegal aliens and rip it away from Americans, but it's a lot more nuanced. You laid it out perfectly, but it's nuanced in the sense that, okay, if somebody has temporary protected status, do they qualify for this exact thing? And I think when you break it down like that, a lot of Americans would probably still be for extending this exact thing. Or if Republicans want to propose a version that allows healthcare for Americans, but not this loophole, then, I mean, we could do that. But from my understanding, that's not what they proposed.
No, and I wouldn't even call it a loophole. It's just like reality. And I feel like whenever you're fighting with the Republicans, they just want to deny reality. Safest place for me, I think, is that the Dems should just be like, do a deal with us right now on the ACA subsidies. 21 million of the 24 million affected live in Trump voting states. And like, let's call it a day. And I think that should be the winning argument.
I will say, though, it seems like they're kind of reveling. They're enjoying this shutdown in some sense. Yes, it generally will look bad for the administration in power, but Donald Trump right now is using this as an ability to push through a bunch of firings, or at least that's the idea that him and Russell Vought have. So if they're able to successfully do that, then I guess they get their win of shrinking the government either way, or maybe it's just entirely bluffing. But I mean, it seems like they're trying to execute on this.